So this is Usain Bolt, multiple award winner in terms of the running and sprinting space. We know Olympics are coming up. Now, when you win a race, the legs cannot go and receive the medal. Go to the podium, receive the medal and say, oh, Hans, you did not run, so let me leave you behind there. It's just the legs that we need at the podium. And neither can the head remain on the seat and say, you know what, I actually didn't touch the ground. I did not run, so I should not receive any reward or go to the podium as well and be celebrated, because they did not run. Unity means the visible and the invisible parts of your business, the visible and the invisible staff within your business must be celebrated, because it takes all of them coming together. From the cleaner who is cleaning your premises, believe you me, if you came in and found they have not showed up to work for 3 days, probably some of the directors sitting in the office will not be able to continue sitting there. And that is why it's so important to really value and understand the role of everyone. If your driver did not show up, you will not be able to attend that meeting on time. So you can just imagine why it's so important that we have a unified and a fair approach when we are thinking of staff performance. So we sometimes ignore the legs or ignore the hands or ignore the head when we are thinking about the success and what has been delivered. But I am telling you for sure, you need everybody's work. You need Nyambura's work here. You need maybe Odipo's work to ensure that KCB is achieving its strategic goals. And same for us entrepreneurs in our SMEs. We need everybody's job, from the security guard to the driver to the hospitality staff who serve you your tea and everything, for us to be able to look at staff performance. But guess what? Working in the people space, I have realized that so many times employees quit and stay. Employees quit and stay. Staff quit and stay. So it is so important for us to really consider, do we want our staff to stay? And we know they are staying with their head, heart, and ears. And that is the main thing. So my session today is to really focus on how do we actually ensure that we do not lose our staff. We don't lose the hearts of our staff, the heads of our staff, because that is how we think that we are managing the job, but sometimes we're managing all these things in terms of staff. So now I'm going to look at how much does a weak employee cost you. One of the things we don't realize, as we want to employ our sisters, as we want to employ our brothers, as we want to employ the staff that we like and everything, we don't realize that actually they cost us. A weak employee costs so much. They take up a manager's time because they spend nearly a whole week dealing with a weak employee. You just think about the weakest employee in your staff. If you have a restaurant and maybe people are coming in, they order for tea, today they brought nice tea, tomorrow they brought bad tea. Somebody is complaining in the morning, they don't complain in the afternoon. Somebody is complaining in the evening. You are having to talk to this employee all the time. You're starting to talk to that employee. It takes up the manager's time. It takes up your time. It eats into your time. And when you are hiring people, it's so that they can save you time. So it's not okay to just look at having good or average. It's important to also work on the poor employees or the weak employees within your organization, because they're the ones who are eating up a lot of your time. The second type of employee that is eating up and really damaging your performance is actually the toxic employee. So there are some employees that work very well. They have good skills, you can see very quickly. They know how to serve maybe the tea in the restaurant. They know how to take the orders from the customer. They are very good with others and everything, but they are toxic. They are toxic in that when you're trying to bring change, they're the ones who are resisting. When you see an instruction in the morning, they're left behind talking to the others and making the others not work and everything. And this affects your staff performance for sure. And the funny thing is that the bad ones stay forever. Weak employees can stay 20 years in your business. They are not interested in leaving. They are not interested in going away or whatever. They are there to stay. You just think about them. And what do?
Why do you think they stay the longest? Because they're the ones who cause the other good employees to leave. Because of the toxic grapevine, gossip, wastage of time, laughing and intimidating or bullying employees who are doing well. So for instance, somebody comes in and says, you go in and tell your staff, from today onwards, all of you in the evening, spend the last 1 hour cleaning this place before you go. We are now few, we are not many staff and everything, so clean up before you go. The minute you turn your back, this person is telling the others, now we become cleaners. Can you imagine? We have to cook, we have to serve, we have to do. Just that in the mindset of a good employee who joined with a good intention can start being toxic over time. And so this employee will get fed up after some time, especially if they're trying to do what you said. In the evening, they start cleaning and then people are laughing. Wanawachekelea, ni wewe ndo unajifanya mzuri, ni wewe ndo unajifanya wewe ndio boss's pet na sijui nini. So because of that type of bullying in the back end, which sometimes as a business owner you don't see or you don't realize, that negativity multiplies and can make people actually just leave. And so it means that your bad employees keep staying and the good ones keep going. And finally, research has shown that public goals, when you have goals in the organization, if you say the goal now is to increase our clients by 20% and everything, usiambie mtu mmoja, usiite mtu tu kwa ofisi yako unamwambia, from now I'm thinking of increasing the client base and everything, and I want to bring in new products and you don't tell everybody in the business. It can cause tension because they go back to the back end of the business and they start saying, hey, unajua mimi nishaambiwa amjui. And this is the problem with Chinese whispers. They go and change the story of what you have said. So please also make some of your business goals public. Let everybody be able to see that we are looking for new customers, we are going into new markets, we are opening a new business. That kind of thing can really help for everybody to feel like they actually can add to the strategy of the organization. So the key thing about staff performance, if you want your performance to be good and you have goals that you want to attain in that performance, tell everybody. The next thing I want to talk about is how we use our employees. How we use their strengths, especially, is very important in terms of attaining business performance. So number one, as a small SME, kama you have 2 staff. One sits at reception, you employ them as a receptionist and everything, and one maybe sits at the back and just looks after the books and everything. And you find out that the person at the back, actually, whenever there's an issue at reception, because when guests come, when suppliers come and everything, they are complaining about the attitude on the person at the reception, you really need to think, is it the stress? Just because I put that person at reception, really, are there people pass? Unajua kuna watu wale uitisha kazi, lakini when you start really looking at the way they work, you wonder. So you find the person at the back ndo anaitwaga kila saa to come and solve issues at the front. You need to look at people's technical strengths and work with them. But on the other side, you need to work on. So work with and work on. You need to work with my technical strengths. You need to work on my behavioral weakness. So that is how you balance things out. When you are looking at weaknesses, usually you can bring somebody with a very good technical strength, but with really serious behavioral weaknesses. And when you're looking at performance, and in my years of even working in the HR space, we usually sack people on behaviors, rarely on technical. I think I can count the number of people that we realize we hired badly and they do not have the technical strength. But ask yourself, how do they even pass the recruitment? Unless they came in for emotional reasons. And for those of you who've had my trainings all the time, I say, please do not run an emotional business. Oh, this is my sister, this is my sister-in-law, this is my sister-in-law's friend and whatever. So that is why they're working on reception. Emotional business will always kill your business because there'll be no staff performance. And when performance is going down, you are unable to actually tell people off. You don't know how to guide them. You don't know how to tell them certain things. So they can bring in, it's the behavioral weakness you're seeing when we're saying a toxic employee. And a toxic employee, by the way, for me, is a bigger problem than even an employee with a technical issue. Because if they have technical weakness, I can train them. When they have behavioral weakness, I'm telling you, they will run your business from the back. Now, let us look at then how do I work with people's strengths? Please listen here very carefully. Let me just teach you a nice little framework that I use when I'm looking at the strength within a small business. Number one, I know that there are 3 types of people. So your staff can be categorized into three categories. They are either thinkers, so they work well in a thinking role, or they are action-oriented, so they work very well in execution and implementation roles, or they are people. So they know how to work very well in a people-oriented role. Now let me just unpack this. When you look at this, you find that in the thinking roles, we have 3 types of people. We call them the plant, the monitor, evaluator, and the specialist. Then the second type of person so ideas person analetanga 2 ideas. That's why we call them a plant or a bulb. Then there's the monitor evaluator in the thinking role. So once ideas come, somebody needs to unpack and monitor and really evaluate this idea. Is it feasible or it's not feasible? Unatuambia sasa we are in construction. Ati kuna mawe zile zinashikana, kuna mawe zile zinaangalia jua maaje. That's a nice idea. But is it feasible? Is it feasible here in Kakamega? Is it feasible here in Migori? Is it feasible here in Malindi? Now, a monitor evaluator again sits very well in the thinking role, lakini ya kazi yake ni kuchukua idea ya mtu na anajua vile kuivunja kuiangalia kabisa, aseme whether they feel it can work or not. And then finally, in the thinking roles, you have these specialists. And specialists in your business, by the way, kama hauna specialist. Ati unaniambia you are running a printing business and you do not have somebody who is a specialist in printing. Wewe umeanza tu kwa sababu ulikuwa na pesa ukaona printing machine na ukaanzisha. You will struggle. How will you even start your business? Ama if you are running a water business, you don't have a specialist in water. You are running a clinic, hakuna daktari pale. You know, those kinds of things. You need these specialists. And again, let me tell you, the specialist in your little SME sometimes is not good at other things, but really going in, what does a specialist do? Unaona hapa iko na tool. They are the ones who will tell you the right tools to use for certain things. Hata kama unalima shamba, specialist ndio atakwambia, you see, kwa black cotton unafaa kulima na hii tool, lakini ukijaribu kutumia hii kwa red soil itakuwa hivi na hivi, ama kwa sand itakuwa hivi na hivi. These kinds of crops are good in the sand, this type of crops are good in. So those are the thinkers. Na sasa ukimwambia, because umesema these types of crops are good in black cotton, able go and dig, hawezi. But they are very good. Alitoka university, amesomea, yeye ni specialist, anaelewa na nini. So how to utilize your specialist, your monitor evaluator, and your plant, the people who bring ideas. It is very important to do so by understanding that they are thinkers. Then we go to the second category of people in your organization. And this is how performance is affected by you understanding how to categorize your people and use the fish to swim, use the monkeys to climb trees, please. So in terms of the action, sasa hawa watu wenye ukanga kwa action role, they are very strong in it. But realize that sometimes they are not as strong in the thinking role. So if I'm an action-oriented person, tumeka kwa meeting, mnanipatia ideas, plant ameleta ideas, monitor and evaluator, and I unpack specialist, and anasema vile tuifanye. But it is the shaper that can actually go and shape this idea and then say, okay, now guys, let's get into action, because they are action-oriented. In fact, tukiona hapa, the way we've used the symbol for it is a whip. Unajua kuna ule mtu kwa business yako anajua tu whip. Yani when you want something done, this is the person you say, get out and just make sure you shape it and you get it. They are the challenger. We call them the challenger within the team. They challenge others. They push through. They make sure that things are moving and everything. So they shape and get into action. They are not just sitting in their ideas and everything. But the good thing about the shaper is that they sit between the thinking and the action very well, because they have a good element of being able to see what an idea has been thought. Both amefikiria hivi na hivi. So how do we start structuring it? When I structure even on paper, this is how we will do it. We will need 16 stones. We will need a tractor. We will need ABCD.